Legacy is what you pass down to your children and to your children's children. It's what remains of you when you're gone. Many hope to create it. Many more hope to live up to it. Very few ever succeed. The legacy of this show hopes to be about what Westeros means to us, and what we hope it may mean to a new generation of fans, and the generation after that. Boasting discussions that will endure, passions that will rise, debates that will make the small council jealous. With a combined 44 years of experience behind a microphone, the hosts and guest hosts of this show are dedicated to the fans' experience in reviewing anything from Westeros, Essos, and beyond. This group is not the house of a lion, a direwolf, or even a dragon. This is a fraternity, a lineage, a house that endures beyond sigils, and aims to leave a legacy no other podcast has. So it's time to call the Banos, for this is the House of the Empire.
Man, when did we get James Earl Jones to do the voiceover? Kind of sounded like him a little bit. I'm going to go there. Welcome. This is House of the Empire. We are doing a full-on spoiler review of episode 5. I believe it's, is it We Are the Light?
I don't know. I never pay attention to titles.
I can't remember the title. It's the High Tower slogan. That I do know. Whatever that is the title of the episode. And I thought it was
We Light the Way.
We Light the Way. Wasn't terribly off, and yet still quite far away off. Before we get started here, though, happy name day to Sir T. Brad himself, wherever he is out there. So so happy name day to Sir T. Brad. And by the way, exclusive for you guys tonight, a live look at Sir Zach's wedding. That's right, a live look at his wedding. And here it is, completely live, totally official, straight from Zach's wedding. Zach tied.
You got this. You got this straight from the same source that gave you the poster early, right? The Halloween.
yeah. Same place. No, I didn't ask Zach if it was okay to post any photos, so I wasn't going to post an actual photo. So use your imagination. There's beautiful Mrs. Zach Arnold now, and Zach himself with the top hat. I don't think he was actually rocking the top hat though, but I bet you he could have pulled it off. Anyways, many congrats to you fine folks out there. Enjoy it. It's a journey. I think Johnny has to use the bathroom. That's what it sounds like.
No, I'm watching the Titans play defense.
Yeah, well, good luck with that. Anyways, joining us today, he is the host of the Rick and Morty Fan Show, which aired last night. You can check the new episode out on the channel right now. I haven't done this hosting thing in a little bit. Bear with me. It's like I have my fucking training on again. So, yeah, bear with me. But it's Sir Kieran. What's going on, man?
Not too much. I actually was watching this episode live, which I didn't do for the previous couple. I was like just a couple hours off before. I think one of them actually watched the next day. But I don't know. I was kind of hyped up for this one. People were telling me like there's going to be some big stuff. And I was like, okay, you know what? Let's go back. Let's take a look. Watch it live. And I was not disappointed. So having a pretty decent day too. Been been enjoying being back to work. I'm a person I like working. I don't like being on vacation. I'm not a big fan of it, so I'm really enjoying being back at work and being useful, and yeah, so it's been a good week.
I don't mind it. I just mind waking up at 4:45 in the morning. So
I guess kind of relevant to the show. I went to a medieval fair on the weekend, so that was fun. I got to see medieval times type of fighting. People pretending to fight with swords, and it was pretty cool. It was pretty awesome. I liked it. It was I don't know. I'm really into obviously, look where we are. I'm into really into medieval type of stuff. So, and my son just loved it. So it was good.
Man, I haven't been to medieval times since I would have went with Johnny, I believe, and Mary's.
I've never been.
Street. Oh, were you not on the trip, or was that one of the years we were split? So
I don't ever remember a Mary Street trip to medieval times.
It happened. I think it might have been.
It had to be the year we were split.
Gerard's class is my guess. So I think it actually was, because I think it might have been McClellan or whatever her name was. It was fun though. I enjoyed it. It was a good time. It's the only time I've ever been. I would definitely go back. So, also introducing Sir Johnny. Dude, the prologue is in the books. How are we feeling?
Good-ish. I mean, they're still... They're playing with me because, like I've said, I know the lore and the history, and that, they're starting to play with major events now, not just minor events. And I'm not a big fan of that.
That was always going to happen, though. As soon as they kept pounding the unreliable narrator bit out into their publicity, which it seemed like it was almost every other interview one of the main people did, you had to know they were trying to be like, "Hey, we're going to change shit."
That's all well and good. It's just some of the major events that are changed. Like, I never touched on it when it happened, but I mean, Viserys didn't lose his fingers until he was on death's door, just before he died.
Are we calling that a major event?
Well, no, but that's I mean, it's pretty clear that tonight kicked off the greens and the reds.
It's funny you can you're like, losing fingers, that's not a big deal. It'd be a big deal in our lives, but you're like, whatever, a king lost his fingers early, whatever.
Did you just say the greens and the reds?
Yes. He did say that. He elaborated to that before, too.
It's the greens and the blacks. I don't know if
yes, but I'm being PC and changing it to the reds.
I don't know if that's a fair doing.
Who, with all due respect, fellas, who gives a flying hoot? They're talking about their color of clothes, not their color of their skin.
With
the Valerian house being firmly on one side of that?
Which side are they on of that, right?
Are they firmly on? I don't know in terms of one of them.
You know what? I honestly think I know that it's that, come on, like the book is whatever, but
let's be honest.
I think they'll probably go that way too. I don't think they'll ever call any side the blacks. I don't think they're going to say that.
Even in the book, I didn't like that, because to me, the Targaryen color is red. Like that's the color most closely associated with the time. I mean, look at the dragon. Look at the Targaryen crest. It's 90% red.
We got some Game of Thrones stuff happening though, where technically speaking, Alicent is Team Targaryen too. Although we all know the greens represents the High Towers, but Cersei,
I mean, she's High Tower Targaryen. So I mean, it's same but different.
Her kids are Targaryens. That's what they go by. They don't go by Aegon Hightower Targaryen. It's Aegon.
Well, no, but they take Dad's name. Otherwise, it would be the Targaryens versus the Valerians, and that's just confusing.
Was an interesting topic in this episode. That literal topic came up. Let's start with Viserys, fellas, because I am digging this character, and I know Kieran has been on the fence. Maybe even more so one side of the fence in terms of the characters not necessarily being the most memorable. But I got to tell you, a couple weeks ago, I said I thought that Patty Considine was doing a better job at just having me gravitate towards the King character than Mark Addy did as Robert. Thank you. And I'm going to stand by that because his performance in this episode is fantastic. And I'm going to go ahead right now and jump way the fuck out of order. That's my champion this episode, and it's not close. He is incredible. They tell such a good story with his character to the point where, like, every time we're seeing him, he's just getting fucking annoyed with everybody around him. Everybody keeps screwing everything up. This dude's legitimately just trying to do the right thing in his eyes, and just it's not going his way in basically every way possible, and he's falling apart.
Yeah, it's definitely it's interesting because he's falling apart. He's he's trying to deal with all these moving pieces, and he's he's the king who was during peacetime. He was the guy who's like doing actual political like what we would expect our prime minister, president, whatever to do. Not like constantly in wartime like all the other kings that we've seen, like constantly worrying about people attacking. And now he does have to worry about a lot of these things because it seems like as he gets sicker, more people are kind of coming out of the woodwork and being like, hey, I could help you out for a little bit of this, or like, oh, you should align with this person. And things are kind of crumbling in his seat underneath him. And the wolves are coming out. And it's for most Game of Thrones characters, they'd come out fangs out, but this is a king who doesn't really have that in him, and he even explains that. Like, I'm not a fighter. I wish I was born. I wish I was born like Daemon and have great wars or whatever. And I totally agree. He the actor is knocking it out of the park. Amazing, absolutely amazing. He's been good in every episode. You kind of feel bad for him a lot of the time too. And he's doing a great job. When I mentioned before that it was disappointing, it wasn't that the character isn't good, because the character is probably the best character, when it comes to actually seeing behind the character and understanding what he's thinking and feeling and conveying emotion, because Daemon's a pretty awesome character, but that's more based on him just being a badass and not really a sympathetic character. But I agree with you. I agree with everything you just said there, pretty much.
Any, even if there's multiple moments, dude, Johnny, what moments stick out for you in this episode with Viserys, and maybe the way that he acted during them?
Well, I mean, there's so many, moments where you finally get to see him appreciate the situation a bit more. He's been backed into a corner of his own creation, and I think he's finally starting to realize that and see that through these events. Basically, kowtowing his way to, the Valyrian stronghold, and placating the Valyrian house by wedding his daughter and their son, and it just he's finally doing kingly things, but it's much too little, much too late, or at least that's sort of how the stones are falling on him. So it's interesting, seeing these reactions and seeing his sort of understanding of events. Especially they're at the wedding, or at the feast before the wedding. He portrayed so many different emotions and feelings, and just watching the dance, like seeing his face when Rhaenyra and Daemon eye fuck each other on the dance floor. He very much understands what's happening, especially after the last episode where Daemon professed his love for Rhaenyra, and he thinks Daemon is doing something unprincely, especially in light of events off the top of the episode. But it's I'm enjoying the story of Viserys because it is, sort of that wavering king. He's concerned about his legacy while actually trying to do things. He is bucking hundreds of years of tradition by not naming Aegon as heir. Keeping Rhaenyra as his heir and solidifying with constant support of her claim to the throne. It just makes the story it makes the character so much more interesting than he is in the book. And that's something that, George R. R. Martin agrees with me that, the Paddy Considine version of Viserys is so much better than the version he wrote in the book. And I couldn't agree more. This version of Viserys is interesting, intriguing, whereas in the book he just seemed like a wavering, wishy-washy blah. Whereas now you actually sort of see some of the the emotions behind it and the decisions behind it, and you get to see the man that is King Viserys. And Zach and I deep dived in that last week, and it's still true that it's blood before all, but he still holds some vestiges of normality in that. He sort of bucks the Targaryen trend of marrying direct siblings, and he likes to keep it to at least second cousins once removed.
That scene, sorry, I keep getting alerts here from one of my cameras. That scene where he's watching Daemon and Rhaenyra on the dance floor there, if you will, and he's like trying to rip through his chicken and make it seem like he's being normal, but he won't take his eyes off of what's going on. He almost looks like he's gone from the guy who's trying to just stay with it and not completely fucking fall off the wagon, pardon the term, but like he looks like he's basically ready to just fucking lose it. And the performance in that moment as he's getting pissy trying to rip through his chicken is just, it's my favorite part of the episode. I loved it. How about you?
Yeah, he's looking like if he was a cartoon, it would have been one of those things where he's going like this, and then when it zooms out, he sawed the whole table in half with his knife, and it's like, yeah, definitely I caught, yeah, it was kind of a, like, it wasn't meant to be funny, like, in a ha-ha way, but it was definitely meant to be, like, kind of like a little bit of a chuckle out of the audience there, yeah.
Yeah, you got all that. I mean, you know where his intentions and where his thoughts were in that moment, and it was not on the food in front of him.
No, not at all. Yeah, I loved him in this episode. He was great. I will admit, I'll jump ahead a little bit here. We all know he's going to die at some point. Like that's just clear. Even if you haven't read Character Fates, if you haven't put that together yet, I don't know what show you're watching. But I was quite surprised to still see he was alive after the time jump in the preview for the next episode, which is 10 years later, because the dude that's in that episode does not look like he has 10 years left. And I can't help but wonder if one of the reasons he does prevail that long is a little moment we see go down in the episode where the Grand Maester completely dismisses the other Maester and what he's trying to do to help, and continues on with the same old shit. I can't help but wonder if that other guy is going to be the guy that has led to extending his life a little bit. I don't know anything about that, but
I refuse to answer on the grounds of knowledge.
So you already do know the answer to that.
I mean, I at least know what the histories tell us as far as the Maesters and the actions in and around King's Landing. So there are events that lead one to believe you are either right or wrong, and I'm not going to say which side of that I fall on, just because of knowledge of 4 events.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I was going to say earlier to Johnny's point about that they're changing major events. I still don't get the idea of people. I don't want to say making a big deal or being upset or like I get that this was meant to be kind of a prequel to the books and the and the show in a way, but like this is it's still the TV universe. Like it's still, I think, closely it's going to be more closely linked to the show, and the show did not go the way of the books. So I really don't think, even if something major happens, a character stays alive or dies, or whatever happens, like it's going to be the same probably as Game of Thrones, the show. It's going to deviate whenever it seems like it would be fun for the audience, or it would be good, show up better on TV. My favorite Game of Thrones character, obviously the Hound. I've said it several times. He dies, and he does not come back in the books. Like he's dead. He's dead. He's not coming back. Even it doesn't matter what's written. He's probably dead, unless the Red Woman brings him back for some reason. But like, it's written in a way that he's dead. That's the end. And in the show, he comes back and is fucking awesome. So, I think that these things are going to happen, and people just need to be like less stuck on the idea of the books, because we've already set that precedent. Like it's already out there, and I don't think they're not gonna go to the letter on this one. I think people need to just understand that that's happening.
I think one of the other things that's going to be at play here, and I don't want to get into what specifically it is, but you just mentioned the whole, changing things for TV value. Well, something happens to a character in this overall Dance of the Dragon story basically that character is supposed to cease to exist at some point. And there's already massive rumors behind the scenes that they're altering that to give a different ending. We'll talk off air, Johnny. I see you doing that. But there's already talk about them basically doing the Hound thing, where in that book, said character was supposed to die at some point. And
it's still ambiguous in the book to the Hound's fate. His death is never confirmed. Arya just leaves him in what is assumed dead. Right, they never actually confirm that. She just leaves him. I think for what she is assumed.
From what I've looked up, another character confirms that he was with him when he died.
I don't recall that, but I just remember Arya leaving him while he
dies from getting
dead.
Bit. He dies. He gets in what would be the bar fighting scene. He gets bit by some character, and then. It's funny because in the show he has that wound that's from I don't think it's from a bite. Is it from a bite in the show too?
It's a bite,
yeah. And he's like, "Fuck, this fucking thing hurts," and then that's like it's bothering him. But then he dies from it in the book.
Again, this is fan fiction because we don't have the next book, so we don't know. The presumption is the quote is the Hound died. Because I actually just looked it up just to see the exact phrasing of it. The quote is, "The Hound died in my arms." Some people believe that to be sort of a rebirth, that the Hound is dead, but Sir Sandor Clegane lives because he's redeemed himself in some form or fashion. He's no longer the Hound.
I would be really excited for that, but I don't know if I wouldn't read into that too much.
It's George R.R. Martin we're talking about here. Lady Stoneheart is a thing in his writings.
We'll wait to see what he prunes off of his fucking garden.
Or whatever author ends up finishing the book series in 20 years.
Let's get back to the characters before I lose it.
If there was a runner-up in this episode for me, it was Allison. I thought this was far and away her best episode, and her just presence on screen that she brought was very notable. Her scenes with Kristen Cole are really good. Her scene with the one strong boy there is kind of creepy the way it goes down, and you definitely know as the viewer what he's getting at. And I just thought that this was a bit of a coming out party for her. And it's kind of weird because, that's it for this specific actress. She's done after this, at least for this season. What do you guys think of Allison in episode 2, and anything stand out?
Well, they had to establish her as a player, in the game. And with Otto out of the picture for the time being, it has to be her that sort of carries on the silent war as it is, and they had to make her prominent in such a way, and she did a phenomenal job in this episode. I mean, her interrogation of Sir Kristen was interesting in sort of a failing forward sort of way. But that's sort of what Alicent has done. It really isn't until she appears at the feast that that's her coming out moment. Even the interrogation of Sir Kristen is sort of a falling on the correct answer. Like, it's very clear that until Cole admits it without being asked, that she still believes it was Daemon. And that's interesting because it's it is until that moment that she finally realizes that is different. Like, to that point, she'd been lied to blatantly. Now it's sort of a lie of omission, because she only swore that she'd never done it with Daemon. And now it's okay. If you'll play the game with me, I'll play the game with you. And you sort of get that, because before this been sort of that begrudging, I don't want to say acceptance, but paralleling of paths sort of effect that those two characters had. And now it's direct conflict from the shadows, and I like that. I'm going to have to wait and see where it goes.
Kieran?
Yeah, I really thought that they did a great job of having when she enters, and I did kind of think it was funny, like when they explained she's wearing green because green is the green means go for attacking for the high towers. But other than that, I thought that was kind of done a little bit goofily. Like, it seemed a little bit goofy in the middle there. But it had to, some character needed to explain what the significance was because it's not a book. However, her walking in and her presence was really, really good, like really fantastic. She did a great job. The look on her face was, like I'm not appearing here because I'm ready now. Like, I meant to do this. Like, I want all eyes on me here. Carried an amazing presence, and I did really enjoy her conversation with the guy with the cane there. I don't know what his name is, but which also is a very interesting character. I'm sure we're not going to get to talking about that character specifically, but that character was kind of interesting to step in there and give the information, but who knows what he's after really either,
I was going to say, I thought just specifically when I seen his character in the episode and what he was doing, and then some of the other background characters, like, because he has been in a few of the episodes and really hasn't gotten any play for the most part. And I thought they did their Game of Thrones thing where it's like, oh yeah, by the way, these guys that have just been hanging around here, they actually have something to do and they're quite important.
Yeah.
And that was cool. I've been waiting for that.
Yeah, he went to go. Well, that's, and like, spoiler alert for me, like, you didn't see me last week, and it was because I didn't think I would have anything to add to the conversation because I wasn't really happy with last week's episodes. This week's episode, I really absolutely loved, and it was for reasons like that. It was people, all of a sudden you're seeing periphery characters, and you're seeing a little bit of depth from some of the characters. So it was cool just to see him and to see Daemon's wife, who didn't make it too long, but her, was it her dad that was, that's now having a feud with Daemon, which was really interesting. Okay, perfect. And yeah, like, just adding to those background characters, adding those characters who, if this is like Game of Thrones, are eventually gonna, like, some of them are gonna step into the limelight at some point and be like, I was a background character, but now here I am. Like, that's how Game of Thrones is, right? So I thought it was really great to get good performances from a lot of these background characters.
Yeah, I thought it was very, very noticeable in this episode. Johnny, you gave your 2 cents on Alicent, didn't you, or no?
Yeah.
He did.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I thought it was her best episode, and it's unfortunate that it was that performer's last episode as her, at least for this season anyway. We'll have to see what happens going forward. I do want to bring our attention, though, to Mr. Kristen Cole, who had a lot to do this episode, and boy, that guy got rejected. And I don't know what the hell he was thinking, because yeah, let me throw it all away, bud, to be with you. Actually, sorry, one more point on the Allison front. Let me backtrack here for a second. Johnny, do you have the actress's name? Is it Olivia Cook, or she's the one that plays older Allison?
For Allison, that's shit.
Olivia Cook is either the younger one or the older one.
Yeah, I'm always getting those two confused as well.
Anyways, I believe when Olivia Cook auditioned, or whoever the other performer was, for the role, she intentionally was handed Cersei lines to do for the role, and I've never been, like, to this point, haven't been able to draw that parallel. But boy, when she walks in during that wedding, I was like, oh, okay, no, yeah, there's definitely some Cersei here. And if you've seen the preview for next week's episode, it's all over that too. So you're starting to see that transition, I think.
Emily Carey is young Allison.
Emily Carey. Well, she did a fantastic job and deserves all the credit in the world. Who was I going to after that? Did I say who I was going to after that?
No, you didn't.
Oh, you just got these pictures up of everybody.
Well, let's go with Otto. He's in this episode for literally.
Did we do Kristen?
Oh, so I did say Kristen.
We started Kristen, and then you went to Allison.
Oh, that's what I couldn't remember.
Backwards.
Let's go to Kristen and then Otto. Kristen Cole got rejected big time, but not surprising. What do you guys think of just his whole episode arc? Because he had a lot to do in this one.
He's actually
a bitch.
That's not what I thought.
I did, and to me, it sucks. This is the first time that a picture has been painted in the history of a very different Sir Kristen Cole than was on screen. Kristen Cole in the TV series is a baby back bitch, at least to this point. Now, can he grow up to be a real man? Who, I can't say much more, but other than to say he is very important in the histories and the lore and the coming events, and that's not who he is right now. And I can't reconcile the character on screen with the man in the books right now.
I'd like some elaboration on this. Why is he a bitch?
Just because of the way he acts. Like, for a man, again, it's one of those things where knowing future events both helps and hurts, because I can't say certain things that would explain why his actions are make him like a bitch to me, but because you don't know these events that are forthcoming, but I do. So I can say, to me, he's bitch right now, because I know where the character's going, where the character ends up, and it's in a very different place as a very different type of person.
You think you know?
Well, I know factually by titles and positions and things he does that I don't expect to be changed, because to certain degrees they've been mentioned in future. Like, don't forget that Sir Kristen Cole is name dropped in Game of Thrones in season 3.
Oh, I didn't know that.
One of the characters is referred to as a reborn Sir Kristen Cole.
Oh, okay. I don't remember that. Well, let me tell you what I think, because it seems to be far different than what you think. But surprise! That's pretty much me all the time. I actually really liked this character in this episode, and obviously I don't have a link to the lore because I have 0 links to the lore, really. But I thought this character was very cookie cutter before. I thought he was just going to be white knight, I do whatever, but it was in a boring way. It wasn't in a Jon Snow way, which I think Jon Snow was an exciting character. We got to see him do a lot of different things. But I think Kristen Cole it painted him to a point where his, being an honor, bound, dutiful knight is so important to him that he got a little bit psychotic about it. Like he, I liked the idea too. I was watching the boat scene where she was like, "Oh yeah, like don't worry, like we're still gonna be fuck buddies," and then he was like, no." Like I was so happy that he was upset and not happy with that idea, because I thought it was setting up to be like a love scene from a fucking teenage vampire goddamn show. I was like, God damn it! Like this better not just be some Disney movie garbage. And which I like Disney movies, but not in my Game of Thrones. And then he ended up being pissed about it. He was and you saw him during the party. He couldn't keep his eyes off of her, watching who she's with. And all of a sudden, this secret that he's so fucking worried about, somebody comes up and goes, "Dude, I know your secret, but don't worry, I'm going to keep it." Like, almost as if it's like, "Hey, like I got some blackmail on you," and he just fucking, during the scrum, I'm assuming just lost it. There's obviously some parts of that we don't really know of what happened in there. In that
we don't see any of it, just that it happens.
We don't see the scrum. We just we do.
Based on the fact they're at the center of it, I think he started it.
Yeah, and he sure as fuck finished it.
Hang on, who do we think?
Kristen Cole.
Oh, see, I think Damon did.
Kristen Cole bludgeoning that guy though.
He's never shown, like literally the last thing we see is Damon with Rhaenyra. Cuts away, and when it cuts back, we see what happens to Rhaenyra. They literally take time to focus on every other character that has some sort of moment on that episode, and Damon is never once seen.
It would make sense because it looks like something planned, and there's no reason for Kristen to plan this whole thing out. It does look like something planned, like the doors get shut, people come in, whatever, like all of a sudden. It does look like it's there's some sort of premeditated plan going on there. Anyways, but just going back to Sir Kristen before we get to that, I just love that his character is now, to me at least, someone who believes that he's good and he's an honorful knight, and he's upset about what happened, and now he's fucking crazy about it. So I don't mind. I don't mind that. That's less vanilla than I thought we were getting with the character. So if it adds to the character and makes him interesting and something new, then I'm all for it.
He's doing his best impression of the mountain there with how bad that guy's face got messed up.
The only thing coming out of that fight that made me go, "We're just gonna let this happen," is that he literally punched the king consort. He punched Laenor in the face, and nobody mentions that. Like, I mean, like, murder Joffrey, I guess. Like, you can facsimile, you can make something up. You saw the dagger. All he's got to do is say, "I saw the dagger." It looked like he was, you can make a story that's believable because of who he is. That, allows him to really turn Joffrey's face into ground beef. Nothing he can say can defend, "I punched the future king consort and nothing's gonna happen to me."
No, but the one thing I would fall back on for that, and it is reaching a little, is he does have quite a powerful person in his corner now. So
I agree, but at this point,
he ends up, okay, I don't want to spoil anything. He's a significant part of her team.
Yeah, I've been avoiding saying that kind of stuff because,
I thought it was made quite clear in this episode anyway.
Well, I mean, I'd say it's made quite clear that he's a part of said team, not how important a part of said team. But, it's still, I mean, can it be easily sort of brushed away in a "I didn't realize it was you, my lord" type situation? Because, okay, you're in the middle of a brawl and a melee, and clearly the entire party goes ham at that point. Especially once Lord Strong issues the what is his oh god, what's his name? The Stormbreaker. He has a name, a fancy nickname title. But once the hand sicks, his family into the party, then shit just starts going ham. And he serves his purpose. He gets the queen out of there, which the future queen, the heir, gets Rhaenyra out of there. It just,
in the books, that guy has a lot more play than what he's had so far. So.
It's one of those.
I don't know. I feel like they've been leading away from that though in the show.
Again, one of those. I'm having trouble reconciling the books with the TV series because of this, but it's one of those things that's never spoken. It's just, whispers and rumors things that could very easily be just as false as they are true.
For those of you that know what we're talking about, ka-ching. And those of you that don't, we're not going to spoil it. So
we speak of the waters.
When the hands, gave him the nod to go out there, all I could think about is Stone Cold when he comes back on Monday Night Raw against the invasion starts cleaning house. Like he literally goes through 5 guys in like 3 seconds and then grabs her. It was impressive shit. Kieran, you're a big battle guy. Was that a little overboard for that? Was it too superhero-ish, or you okay with it? You're muted, sir.
So I didn't think so, because the guy was fucking huge, and like this was a brawl, right? So it's not, when you go up, you go and you punch someone in the face and they get knocked out, like that's all set. That's it. Like you don't usually resolve a sword fight with one swing, because the guy will block the first swing likely. You got to make a fancy move. But yeah, so him coming in there, it's kind of the same as the Mountain or the Hound or anyone like coming in there, and yeah, you punch a guy, they're out. Like, in a big fight like that, the guy who's a foot and a half taller than everyone else punches someone like that guy's probably going to take out 5-10 guys, I think, realistically. So no, and I honestly didn't really have any problems with the way that scene was pulled off, especially the ambiguity of what happened is pretty cool, because we'll probably find out differing accounts of what happened, and I think it'll be confused between characters maybe. I don't know. I thought it was pretty cool. I liked it. I mean, obviously we're getting a time jump, so a lot will have been resolved by then, but
Breakbones.
I think the best part of this episode, the best part of it was, one, like I said, peripheral characters kind of stepping up and building a bigger world here, but also a lot of differing points of view of what happened now. Like now, what the Queen thinks happened that night with Rhaenyra, and what someone else thinks happened that night, and the actual truth and what's in between them, what happened in the battle and who killed who and why did they do that is all. Every character is going to have a different opinion on what happened and who conspired to do this, and now we have a marriage where the Queen's personal guard murdered the king consort's boyfriend, I guess. I don't know what you want to call that relationship. Hidden boyfriend. It's crazy, all the drama that's in there now, all the storylines and all the people being like, this is what I think happened, or now I hate this character because this happened. This is where we're getting all those vines and webs that intermingle, and all those things that make up Game of Thrones, all those things that tell different characters' points of view and what they think about what happened. So I liked the scene altogether. I liked pretty much how all the characters reacted. I thought made sense, and I was a big fan of this whole thing. I was a big fan of this whole episode, if I haven't made it clear already.
So the one thing that I thought was a little jarring for me in this episode, as great as a character episode that it is, we'll move to Rhaenyra now, and I thought that out of the 5 episodes thus far, that this was far and away her weakest one. It's not because of the performance or anything like that. Even though it's her wedding, it just felt like she wasn't very involved in the episode. And that's a little disappointing because, as we all know, that that's it for Millie Alcock this season, and maybe for good. We don't know. So it was a bit of a letdown to go out on for me. I don't know how you guys thought of that.
It was what it needed to be. Because of the events swirling around, she is sort of a smaller player in them, and it further assents to the ability that, while yes, Rhaenyra was fairly unfeatured in this episode, the points where she were significant. They were very important to the the upcoming narrative. Especially her walk on the beach with Laenor. I mean, that was awkward hilarity. Her description of Goose and being too greedy. Just that whole conversation just made me shake my head a little bit. But you clearly got the undertones and what was being inferred, and obviously it was the implication all over the place in that conversation, and obviously they would bear fruit in the forthcoming scenes. But even her scene with Daemon on the dance in High Valyrian, with everyone around, they still managed to pack such an important sort of conversation in there, and I thought it was amazing. Yes, she didn't do a lot, but what she did was significant and important. So can I say it's her worst episode? No,
I don't like saying
it's
that either, because it's not.
No, I understand that.
For me, it was the episode that had the least impact for me from her.
It just, I think this episode had some significant impact on the future stories that, sort of left Millie Alcock sort of behind, because so many other events had to occur in this episode that, there's only so much you can pack into a 1-hour episode.
I'm the flip side of this coin. Like always, of course. I don't have any problem with Millie Alcock's acting. I think she's pretty good in her role. But the character, I have been not interested in the entire time. So I really think the character is, once again, like I said, quite bland. Like, I feel like she's just Princess Jasmine transplanted from Aladdin to Game of Thrones. She's upset that she's being told who she has to marry. She wants to be free to do whatever she wants. It's just, I feel like the character has just kind of written itself and not really been that interesting so far.
Someone get me the kinky Jasmine movie. I want to see it.
And I also think that it sucks that she wasn't really a big part, almost like just kind of playing her role in this. But I mean, the fact that it's her wedding that she didn't really want to be part of, I think kind of forgives it. She didn't make a big stink at her own wedding, but she didn't really want to be there. It's all a big ceremony for her. So I also think that this episode it's the biggest. I feel like it's the biggest event so far. So it sucks that she's not a bigger part of it as well. I mean, when I go back and watch this season, if I'm going to pick an episode so far, I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, how about the one where she almost fucks her uncle or her brother or whatever? Like, no, I'm good. I'd rather go back and watch the wedding disaster that turned into a brawl and all this crap happened, right? Or maybe where Otto shows up on the wall to fight against Daemon. I think that was also a pretty cool moment in the show so far. But I feel like this is the big significant. Sorry?
That was a bridge, not a wall.
Oh, okay, sure, yeah. It looks like the Great Wall of China to me. I don't know.
It does. I understand why you think that, but yeah, it was a bridge, not a wall.
But yeah, yeah. So I think this is the biggest episode. So I can see why it kind of sucks that it wasn't her shining moment in an episode that is probably so far the biggest moment.
I also thought, just to touch on some of the characters that didn't get a lot of screen time, I thought Laenor and Lena both had really good screen presence. Like when they were on screen, even though Lena wasn't on very much, although there was definitely a hint at things to come. I thought they were very compelling. Like, and I liked Corlys early on too, and then we haven't seen very much of him. And I've liked Rhaenys when she's been on screen. That whole family, I think the show would be better if we spent more time with those characters, I think. And I do think that's coming. But yeah, I think if there's one fault I have early on is I don't think we've spent enough time with those characters.
The character I feel that way most is Rhaenys. I agree. Yeah, I think she's a much more interesting character to me than Corlys. Just because she has a much more almost whatever happens attitude that I find refreshing. Like, she plays the game, but when the game doesn't go her way, her response isn't, well, burn it all down. It's whatever. Yeah,
I like the character too. I actually thought that Laenor is the king to be, like the king consort, right? That's his name, Laenor.
Okay. Yes.
I thought he was fantastic, and if we're gonna keep going spoilers, I think he would be probably my my winner of this one, which is weird for someone that's not super big. Actually, his romance with him, I thought was done really well. I thought you could definitely see. I don't know what the guy's name. I don't know the other guy's name. Joffrey. Oh, I do know that. I remember that now. I thought they legitimately looked like a great couple. And then obviously seeing him in a pool of blood, obviously dead. I thought the acting was fantastic. He was fucking he was. You in real life sometimes. In real life, sometimes you see people when they're distraught. It's a very, very hard emotion to convey as an actor. Like, some actors are brilliant, but cannot do that. And I think he was fantastic in that moment. Like, slam dunked that. I thought he was great. And it really made the character important to me. Like I said, I'm lacking important characters. I now want that guy to get some good stuff. Like, I now hope that something good happens to this character before the inevitable bunch of fuckery that happens to every character. Like, I hope at least he has a good life for a bit before he gets fucked over like everyone in Game of Thrones. So I thought he knocked it out of the park, and I really enjoyed that character. But since we're probably not going to have a whole section on him, I just wanted to point that out there.
I mean, I'd say the same for both the Valyrian children. I mean, Laenor and Lena were both amazing in this episode without doing a whole lot. I mean, I will say this. I'm getting a little tired of the Westerosi trope that all sex is preceded by aggressive, angry foreplay. It's getting a little tired at this point.
Hey,
I'd like to just see a couple just have normal, loving, passionate sex, not preceded by a fight or anger or aggression or lying
Come
there
on,
taking
this is like.
I want to see love in Westeros somewhere just to prove it exists.
Yeah, this is kind of like the world of Conan there, where like everyone, like people only have sex after they fucking slay a dragon and, or they steal a big treasure.
At this point, I don't think I have any hope of getting that in this series. The closest we've gotten was, Rhaenyra and Sir Criston in the last episode. That's the closest we've gotten. And yeah, I'd like to say just once, somewhere in Westeros, just once.
We cannot not bring this character up because we've heard about her in every fucking episode until actually seeing her in this episode, and that was Lady. Is it Lady Rhea? Is that how you pronounce it?
It's Rhea or Rena, I think. It's one or the other.
I dug this character's intro at first, and when they're her cousin's like, "Do you want me to come with you?" and she's like, "I'd rather ride alone." And it's like, I was like, "Oh, awesome! Hey, I get why he doesn't like her. She probably tells him to fuck right off." I did not think she was just going to get offed that quickly. And as Jade pointed out, if you want to get technical, you can say what you want about Damon. She drew first. That's like
I'd say by that point, Damon was pretty clear. He wasn't there to fuck.
He didn't draw a weapon, though. I don't even know if he had a weapon on him at that point. He doesn't like to carry that weapon on him very much, does he?
I didn't get that out of it.
He did provoke the horse.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And I mean, that pretty much makes your intent clear that, you're here for fuckery. So if my only weapon is a bow, I'm going to draw and, hope it works out in my favor that I can get the weapon out before you can do whatever it is you're planning to do.
What did he do? Just like push the horse over, basically?
We don't really know because, through excellent, and you pointed out in the private chat, you wanted to touch on it, but through excellent use of cinematography, we have no fucking clue what he actually did. All we know is that, he sort of did the Chris Pratt in Jurassic World with the, whoa, calming down the raptor technique and, then got all up in the horse's face and, he went for the muzzle and he went for the reins and the horse sort of jigged and then the horse went up. We didn't really see what Damon actually did to provoke it. So, I mean, he did something. Horses are, they can be spooked. It's not an overly difficult thing to believe that Damon did something without drawing a traditional weapon of sorts.
He probably just had a hard-on for Matt Smith. I mean, everybody does at this point. So. That poor dude.
Well, in my defense, I've had that hard on since like 2012.
Speaking of which, here's a fun little Doctor Who detail for everybody out there. I don't know if Johnny knows this one. And I don't know shit about Doctor Who, so bear with me. Matt Smith played the Doctor. Matt Smith plays Damon. Well, the character or the person playing, I believe it's young Aegon. I don't know if it's Aegon and he has a brother named Aemon, right? There's two of them. They're very close in names, anyway.
I can't remember if Aemon is one of them is Aemon.
One of those kids is played by the adopted son of David Tennant. I was listening to that today on Casterly Talk with Ken Knapsack, and that rhymed. I wonder if he did that on purpose. It was fun little fact. So that was cool. I can't imagine Matt Smith and David Tennant had much crossover. Would they have, or is this just a happy coincidence sort of thing?
That I missed the question because I was actually just looking this up. What was the question?
It's just saying they wouldn't have any crossover, like they wouldn't have met before, but because David Tennant and Matt Smith were not on at the same time.
Well,
obviously.
They did. They appeared together in the 50th anniversary
Christmas special or whatever.
And you broke my streams. You bum.
Oh no, you're back. You're good.
Oh, it unbroke? It doesn't do that very often.
No, it doesn't.
But yes, no, they both appeared together in the 50th anniversary special.
But still, more than likely, just a happy accident sort of thing, I would assume.
And I purposely were like, let's appease more Doctor Who fans.
Hey, that type of shit can work. So here, come watch our show. We have. I mean, it'd be better if they just had David Tennant somewhere in the show, but
that would be cool.
Okay, I see which one it is. It's his wife's firstborn son. I didn't realize they had any that weren't both of theirs.
Gotcha. So that was cool. That was neat. Anything else anybody wants to bring up? I do want to, like, character-wise, because I do want to talk about the cinematography.
character.
I mean, I think we've covered all of the major.
We didn't really talk about. We didn't really talk about Otto. I know you brought him up, but then we didn't talk about him. He didn't have much to say, but if we could just talk for a second about him giving advice to his daughter, and
he's playing the game even then.
Yeah,
I mean, everything he says is true. But the way he starts that conversation is such a dick move. I mean, he's outright blaming his daughter for his exile. Like, how is this her fault?
You calling everyone in Westeros an asshole is just fucking. Of course they are. It's part of this. This is the universe of assholes.
I think the first asshole. I called Kristen a bitch, so that's not the same thing.
Oh my god. The cinematography in this episode, fellas, I thought was phenomenal, fantastic. Even though it wasn't a Sapochnik episode, you can tell that the foundation that he laid throughout Game of Thrones, and then at the beginning of this series, and then he's back for the next 2 episodes. The DNA is there. They have a certain look and aesthetic that they're going for, and I believe the lady who directed this episode's name was Claire Kilner. She did the last episode too, where I pointed out I thought all the sex scenes and the way they were shot were just way different than Game of Thrones ever even attempted to do. I never thought Game of Thrones ever tried to be very artistic with what they were doing there. They were just kind of throwing it in your face. And I really think that she made an impression, a big impression in these 2 episodes. And I think Johnny said she's back for either the penultimate or the finale, one of the 2.
Penultimate.
Yeah. So, looking forward to that. Anybody see anything specific listed up with the cinematography? The walk with Laenor and Rhaenyra, I thought that was very beautifully shot.
Yeah, I said as well that the embracing scene between Laenor and Joffrey, I thought was shot really well, and just was really, I thought it was done really well, and the characters looked like they were, like they were actually in love. It seemed genuine, right? But yeah, like the grass and the hills and the ocean behind them, also, and they had a part where they showed the sun in there as well, and yeah, I remember that scene being specifically looking nice. I do remember thinking that the party scene at some points, the shots made it look almost like it was enclosed, like it was a small room. So I thought that was kind of odd at one point, but I don't know if it was specifically because you needed to see specific characters where they were on the dance floor there.
I got that feeling too, actually, because when you're looking at that room when it's shot in the pilot, which is what all the promotional material was for King's Landing, you can tell there's at least the visual look of it. It's way bigger in that episode than in this one.
Yeah. In this one, it looks like it's almost like it's shot like a smaller set. Anyways. So I mean that's kind of a negative, but it didn't affect the episode to me. But I do remember feeling like, is this standard? Do I have a standard TV again? Like, we're squished in here? But yeah, other than that, I thought that it looked good, but I didn't notice any other parts other than those scenes.
By the way, prepare for probably a little longer of an intro next week and some different things on it, simply because if you've been paying attention to the intro when it's been on so far, every time there's somebody newborn, that a new blood river gets added to the intro, and we're passing 10 years. So there's a bunch of characters that are probably going to now come up into the intro, and a bunch of different blood streams leading to place.
I'll say this. Officially, we're 5 episodes in. I'm officially at the skip intro stage.
I've never been that for Game of Thrones, so
to me, it's the fact they used the same song. It doesn't add anything new to me because of that. Like, I've seen the original series so many times that it's like just the same. It's the same song. I'll just skip the intro.
I actually don't like the fact that it's the same song, just the same way as exactly how Johnny described it. But also, I don't like the intro either. I don't think it's very interesting at all.
If it had a different song, I'd be more intrigued, but because it's just the same song,
I'm
Like, when
always
we were
trying
in
to
the
look
pilot-
at the symbols and stuff like that, but they got covered up by blood way too quickly, and then the rest of it is just so monotone. It's just gray with blood running across it. Like, it's just. I did not like the opening at all.
I liked the different versions of the theme we used in the first episode. If they'd have used one of them instead, I'd probably still be in the watch intro phase. But because it's just the classic Game of Thrones theme with a new, intro underneath, it's like, great. I know the song. I hum it at random points of life. Like, I don't. Thanks, skip intro. This is 2 minutes. I just want to get to the episode.
Keeping in mind, the Game of Thrones intro is fucking amazing. So we're comparing it. We're comparing it to something really good. The only thing I can think of that I like as much or more intro wise is the intro to Daredevil. Have you seen the Daredevil show? I really love the episode to the Daredevil Netflix show.
I was going to make the James Bond comparison. It's great, but I'll skip the classic Bond theme with the monocle moving around with the Bonds in it. Yeah, I'll skip that part and just get to whatever the new theme written specifically for the movie is.
I look at it as branding, and I think it was a genius move by them to use the theme. We got the same fucking opening thing for Star Wars for all 9 episodic movies, and quite frankly, they should have continued on the other ones as well.
But I mean, that's the difference between movies and TV, though, right? I mean, movies, yes, they used it in 9 different movies. By this point, this is episode what?
No, I get that, but the lines between TV and movies are very, very.
It's just pure repetition. I get tired of hearing it because it'll just pop into my head at random times.
Option, so you skip it, and I'll fucking listen to it every single episode because it gets me. Yeah, it's like a pump-up song for a sports game.
I got to agree with Johnny on this one, as much as I hate to say that all the time. But I mean, it's when I watch a Rocky movie and the trumpets sound up, I'm like, yes, Rocky music. But like, I'm not at all. Like, as soon as they played the Game of Thrones theme in this one, I was like, oh, that's fucking cheaped out on us here. Like, I mean, they didn't really cheap out on us here because they could have made another song, wouldn't have cost forever or anything like that. They could have just remixed the goddamn song. I don't know. I don't want to talk about it too much more, but I agree with Johnny. So let's get over this so I don't have to think about how I agree with Johnny.
Yeah. Well, there was only one decision they could make, really, and they made it, and that's where we ended up. And I don't see it changing, but I could see the other shows not continuing with it. But at the same time, it depends how closely connected to the main series. Like, I bet you the Jon Snow show will use this theme.
God, I hope not.
You go back to if they do 10,000 ships, or the 9 voyages, or Nymeria, if they do any of that stuff, or even Duncan Egg, I could see it being a different theme. But hey, there's, with all due respect to you two fellas, there's way more people that love that they used it than there is that they.
I'm not saying they made the wrong decision using it. I'm just saying at this point, I just want to get to the episode.
At least with streaming now, you can skip it, right? Like, you're not watching it on live TV where it's like.
Well, it depends on when I watch it. Like in the early episodes, like I had to watch it because I was watching it on the live feed. But since Sunday Night Football started, I haven't been watching it live, so I have been able to skip intro. I'm just glad that button exists because it didn't a few years.
Right? Take that comment down.
Right? Rich knows what he's talking about. Terrible taste in football teams, but he knows what he's talking about.
Did you see the score of what they did to your team tonight?
Haven't. Jesse messaged me today. He's like, "So what do you?" I'm like, "I don't even know who's on that team."
Both backup quarterbacks are in right now, apparently.
So,
and it ain't because somebody's hurt.
Oh well. Warrior of the, or your champion of the episode, pardon me, Johnny. We Kieran and I gave ours earlier. I had
Kieran do his,
and
mine is Lenore.
Oh, okay. Wow, who is my champion of this episode? There are very few options, really, in this episode. So I mean, I guess just by being one of the few characters who had a significant portion of the entire episode, kind of has to be Viserys. And it's not because, I mean, that's not downgrade his performance or his shoulder or anything, because, like we talked about off the top when we were going through his arc of the episode. I thought it was phenomenal and amazing. Patty is performing just phenomenally. That at points in this episode am legitimately concerned for his health. Like, and that's a testament to the actor. Like.
Just constantly looking up the actor's health, like he's okay. Right?
Patty doing
like,
okay? Can I see it? Patty, what's your Twitter looking like? Are you healthy? Are you good?
Dude, that guy looks like $1 million on the press tour. He's dressed like a fucking rock star, soaking it all up. He definitely had the most entertaining interviews, him and Matt Smith together.
I liked some of the Millies and who she paired with young Allison. So Emily
Carey,
yeah, we did this. I like the those two, and of course, Millie and Matt Smith had some great ones.
Well, I think that's going to do it.
I was going to say, I do think you could pick Kristen Cole as your guy. Like, he had enough. He could have been it, but Johnny already made it obvious that he was not going to pick him. So
because he's
a lot to do.
He is, but again, this is just one of those, knowing where the character ends up, I just can't picture the two together. It's so night and day that, of course, there's lots of time between what I know happens and where we are right now that could very easily change the man. Right now, he's just a bitch.
Kieran, final thoughts, man.
I happy to say that this episode has done a lot for me. I'm interested to go into the rest. I'm interested to see how all these events and stories kind of tangle. I think this is the most Game of Thrones-y episode of this series so far. And I really thought they kind of brought the idea that it wasn't just a linear story. It was actually all these stories coming from different angles, all these characters having different points of view of what's going on. And just a few sprinkled in there outside characters who I wonder if this guy's going to get involved. Maybe he has some inside information. Maybe this person caused this to happen. I really enjoyed the episode. Probably, I'd like to say I'll give it an 8.5. I think 8.5 might be the highest I've rated one so far because I've got I think I did 7 and 8. Maybe the debut episode might have been an 8.5 for me. But yeah, final thoughts. I was fucking very entertained, and I am excited for next week now, which I wasn't so excited for some previous episodes. So.
I think next week's going to be jarring for some people with that big of a time jump and a lot of characters looking very different. And
I think, and this is just I know the preview makes it very clear that the time jump is in the next episode. I think we start with the youth and then age up after the intro, or after because the intro's first. But we start with them and then immediately age up.
I hope so. I hope that's the case. I don't know if it is, but I hope it is.
Because I think this is just pure me, but I think Millie and Emily are both credited for 6 episodes. So now that could just be they're still credited for the 6th episode, but not actually appearing.
Yeah.
But I'm hopeful that it means that they appear and we get them appearing and then it fades into 10 years has passed or something. We get or we open with that. We're either going to open with the characters and then age them up, or we're going to open up with the black screen with the white type. 10 years have passed since the wedding of Laenor and Rhaenyra, or however long they actually choose.
It'd be cool to start still in this timeline, and then you jump ahead 10 minutes in or something. That would be it'd be decent. I don't know if it's going to happen, but we can hope. Score?
For me, I'm just gonna keep the status quo and stay at the 8 because it just, I'm still there. I'm not gonna paint myself into a corner with the later episodes and be stuck because I've used all the numbers in between 8 and 10.
What? You're not you're not gonna do a Dave Meltzer and just started rating things 13 out of 10? And...
Wait, that's allowed? Do that?
It was an 8.5 star match.
I can break the scale. I mean, if I can break the scale, then this episode's like a 9. But since I'm sticking to the 10 as a hard and fast, this is an 8.
As it should be. Good man, Johnny.
I'm gonna give it a 7.5. I really liked the episode, but I thought it was, for me, the least compelling one yet, and yet I'm totally amped up for the next episode. I thought the prologue, which was the first 5 episodes, was done basically as well as they could have done it, and probably just as well received as they could have ever hoped. They have a hit on their hands again somehow that keeps gaining more viewers, and kudos to them. Hopefully they can continue that pace, because just because you hit it out of the ballpark in season 1 doesn't mean that season 2 is going to be anywhere near the same quality. But we have a fun show on our hands, and we'll have to see where that takes us. But for Johnny and for Kieran, again, happy name day to Sir T. Brad, and congratulations.
Would that be Sir T of
Sir T of Brad? We could do that. I like that.
Because that'd be accurate. Otherwise, it's Sir T. Brad of what house?
Sir T of the
T
Brad, Lord of the Bizzle.
No, he is Lord of the Clares.
Not Clares. Spencer. It's not Clares.
Yeah, same difference.
Yeah, anyway.
It's not at all.
They're both stores I'm not going into.
He doesn't wear an absorbent amount of scrunchies or anything. Like,
are you sure? Have you seen his hair sometimes?
Fair enough.
This is true.
Fair enough.
If you want to support the channel, you can do so by heading on over to Patreon, patreon.com/fandomempire. And if you can't afford or don't want to support us on that level, easiest ways you can do so is just let the video play through to the end. That increases watch time. If you're going to be at home anyways, let's play in the background. Mute us if you're annoyed by us, but it still helps. Drop a like, leave a comment, hit subscribe, all that good shit. And we will see you, I guess, tomorrow night for the Fandom Empire show, hosted by this guy over here, as long as he's going to be there, I believe, Kieran.
Yes.
So,
yes, I am.
Enjoy. We'll see you then. Good night. Ciao.
Legacy. It's what you pass down to your children and to your children's children. It's what remains of you when you're gone. Many hope to create it. Many more hope to live up to it. Very few ever succeed. The legacy of this show hopes to be about what Westeros means to us, and what we hope it may mean to a new generation of fans, and the generation after that. Boasting discussions that will endure, passions that will rise, debates that will make the small council jealous. With a combined 44 years of experience behind a microphone, the hosts and guest hosts of this show are dedicated to the fans' experience interviewing anything from Westeros, Essos, and beyond. This group is not the house of a lion, a direwolf, or even a dragon. This is a fraternity, a lineage, a house that endures beyond sigils and aims to leave a legacy no other podcast has. So it's time to call the Banos, for this is the House of the Empire.